Hello everyone, welcome back to Amy's Bookshelf. We are going to do my final wrap-up of December. So in December, I read 26 books, I think, and in my first video, I think I talked about 12 of them. I don't really remember, but we're going to talk about the rest of them now. I purposely tried to hit 300 books and 70,000 pages for the entire year, and that was kind of my end goal coming into the December 31st. And in order to hit that 70,000 pages, I guess I should say, I had to read 301 books. So I did do that. So we're gonna go over the last books of 2021 that I haven't talked about yet. So the first book we'll talk about is the Odyssey. This is a graphic novel that was done by, let me get the name, Tim Mucci, M-U-C-C-I. I don't know. This is originally obviously written by Homer, and I didn't love the graphic novel style. I didn't like the art, and I didn't love the retelling aspect. So I gave it a 3-star overall, but I read a graphic novel of the Odyssey, which was nice to do, I guess. In case you didn't know, the Odyssey is an ancient story about a man called Odysseus who is trying to get back home after fighting the Battle of Troy. And it's just a long story about how he got stuck on an island, and then when he gets home, all the adventures that happen there. So that's kind of the story of it. I enjoyed the audiobook I listened to way more than the graphic novel that I read in December. I also read my classic, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I read this every year, and this year I listened to it on audio, which was read by Hugh Grant. I had never listened to that audio book before, and I think I will listen to it every year now going forward. It was really great. I really enjoyed listening to his telling of it. This one is a classic, which I really enjoy reading all the time. It's my 3rd year in a row now listening to it or reading the story of Scrooge as he discovers what's really important at Christmas and how it can change your life. So I thoroughly enjoyed reading this one again, although I didn't physically read it this time. One book that I loved and adored, and I couldn't believe I didn't read it earlier, was Hold the Light. This is by April McGowan, and I can't believe I didn't read this book before, and I'm so glad I purchased this one. And to tell you how much I love this book, I started this book on Christmas Day when I was hanging out with my family when they were playing games, and I was just wanting to sit down and read because of my migraines were a little too hard for me to focus on a game. That's a side note. But when I was reading this, I didn't have any notes with me, sticky notes, and I needed to document these pages, so I want to track. So I started dog-earing pages, which is something I never do. I dog-eared so many pages. You can see where they are not straight because I dog-eared them. And then after I got home, I put all of these sticky notes in of where I had heard people say these things to me because of my chronic illness, or things that people had said that were so powerful, or things that she had done, or things she had questioned God about. It was just so good. So let me tell you what this is about. This book is about Amber, who is adopted. That is not something that is new to her. She knows it. But because of this, she also does not know her family history. And when she goes to a doctor, she discovers that she is actually going blind. She's had trouble with her eyes for a little bit. And on top of that, she's an artist. And so this is really hard hitting for her. She doesn't know what to do. And on top of that, this blindness is actually very fast and striking. So it's going to hit her really quickly. So during this book, she is struggling with why she is going blind. And this is a Christian fiction novel. So it's something I found so powerful. And one thing I also really want to mention is that April McGowan is not blind, but she did a lot of research. And in her author's note, she wanted to express that she has a chronic illness, and she wanted to express it in a way that people could understand. And I found that these things I tabbed are so impactful, because some of them are like, oh, when you have enough faith, you can come and talk to me and I'll help you be healed. And it was like things like that I've experienced. So even though this is not quite my experience, these accurate statements are things I've experienced. So it's something I can relate to completely. And so I felt like April McGowan did a really great job of having it be relatable, even if you don't have the exact sickness or illness that she is suffering with. So a lot of these things where she is suddenly thrust into this world of being suddenly disabled or struggling with a disability, and suddenly she has to figure out how to adapt, but also having people around her unsure of how to help her, and also suddenly with the possible loss of her job as she is a teacher of an art class. Also, she is struggling with what does that mean with the relationship she has. It's just so good. I am so excited to pick up book 2, and I am so excited to support this author who is able to write illness and illness in the church and chronic disability in such a great way. And I'm so happy that I discovered this book. It is amazing. I've never done this before, and I had to do it. I could not wait till I had this book tabbed up, and I can't wait to reread it again in the future. I felt so seen reading this book. I also read Pride and Prejudice this month. I was at the end of my month and I was like, I need another couple books to get me to that 300 page mark, or the 300 book mark. And I ended up listening to Pride and Prejudice. I listened to the Rosamund Pike version, which I have on audio, and I just loved going back to an old classic, an old favorite of mine. It was beautiful, it was wonderful, and I loved revisiting it. It's been a while since I've read it, so I had forgotten some scenes, and it was just nice to be refreshed on an old favorite. I also read Married by Christmas by Debra Clopton, and this one is interesting. So this one is about, I can't remember their names right now, sorry, but these two characters who were engaged at one point 10 years before, and then she jumped him at the altar, she jilted him at the altar essentially, and then she is basically a runaway bride 3 times at the beginning of the book, and comes back a week before their engagement or their wedding anniversary would have been. And the whole thing is for them to be possibly married by Christmas again. Their people are trying to matchmake them. And it was just, I wasn't really happy with this whole premise, because I could tell from the moment they said it was a week until your engagement anniversary, or your anniversary would have been. I was like, they're gonna try to make these people be engaged again by that date. And it was a week, and I was really unhappy with this, because obviously there's a lot of distrust going to be in that relationship. There's going to be needing to be a lot of communication, and they need to heal a lot of open wounds from that past relationship. So I liked some things about that book, and there were a lot of things that I didn't like about this book. A lot of the, oh, let's just have them talk a couple times, or we'll fit a whole bunch of things into this book, but it didn't feel like it was a week, because then like towards the end it was like, it's been, you know, tomorrow's their potentially anniversary. It's like, it's not been 6 days according to the time things that they've had to go through. So I gave this one 3 stars. I would have given it a 2 had it not been for certain things that happened. They had really good conversations, but there's no way that that kind of timeline would have been accurate for this couple, and I don't think that that would have been healthy if it was. So I'm giving it a 3, and I don't think I'm going to read any more Debra Clopton. I think I have read something else by her, and I don't think I enjoyed it either. So I'm going to just take her off of my read list. I don't think she's the author for me, so I'm going to unhaul anything I have of hers. I think I have one thing by her. I'm not eager to pick up her book, so I will unhaul it, and I think I'm just going to think that she's not for me anymore. I also read A Christmas Homecoming by Melissa McClone, and this one I actually ended up giving 5 stars to. I was going between a 4 and a 5 star, but I think it actually deserves 5 stars because it had a lot of great elements, and a lot of the times I complain about a romance being like, it's too fast, it's too predictable. And here's the thing, in this book it didn't have that element, and it had a lot of great communication, and that's one of my big pet peeves in romance books, is the lack of communication. And it had that open, honest communication from the beginning, and I was really happy with that. So this book follows Ellie and Josiah, who know each other now, but they also knew each other back when they were in high school. Josiah used to be friends with Ellie's big brother, but Ellie's big brother has passed away from, I believe it was cancer, but I also don't remember if it was specifically said. He was very sick for a long time, and now Josiah is a billionaire essentially, and he has been very sick with a blood illness or a blood infection, so he is now recovering at this ranch. This is book 5 in a series, and I was okay reading book 5 in a series because, you know, with romances they all end up together anyways, so I was okay with that. But in this one it follows these two as they are reconnecting essentially. They also have a lot of conversations, and they had, like I said, open and honest communication from the beginning. And sometimes feelings get a little hurt because they develop faster than others, but I was happy with the fact that they had the open and honest conversation before feelings were really developed. And if that happened I was like, at least they had the conversation first. And then the way that book ended, I was really pleased with that after all. And it didn't feel like it was a very rushed book. So I was really pleased, and I really enjoyed the whole story overall. I didn't skip anything because it was very clean, and I am excited to read more from that series actually, so I'm giving it a 5-star. I also read a short novella basically that I owned from Camille Eide called The Healer. This one follows Hans, who's an immigrant, and he is struggling to learn English. And he's basically a delivery person, a delivery man, while he's trying to make ends meet. His wife died 5 months before the book starts, and on his delivery route is Lily, who is a widow herself. Her husband passed away about a year before the events of the book. And so they both are feeling attraction for the other, but they don't really have great communication because of the language barrier, but they are working on it. And it just is a very sweet book about two people who are trying to connect in 1910 or 1905 or something like that. It was very sweet and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, and it was a novella. I think I got it for free, and I really appreciated how it talked about the discrimination as well as the different elements of Lily healing others. She used a lot of natural elements, but at the same time it was a lot about being kind to others and just being there and supportive. So I really liked all of those elements, and I loved how it was a very sweet book and very short. I also read My Mother, the Serial Killer by Hazel Barron. I have been reading this one for a long time. I started this one actually a long time ago, so maybe I haven't been reading it for a long time. But I started it a while ago, and I figured I might as well finish it so I don't bring that into the new year with me. And I'm giving it 3 stars. So it's about Hazel's mother, obviously. I think her name was pronounced Dulcie. I don't know how to pronounce it. She's Australian. And this book is about Hazel as she follows her mother, living with her mother obviously, but her mother killed her father Ted, and then lived with got married to a new man named Harry after, basically cheating on Ted, and then killing several babies, as well as killing a couple people along the way, or trying to kill other people too. So it was really interesting in those points, and I really enjoyed seeing other aspects, but at the same time it felt really dry and really heavy. It felt like a slog to get through at parts, and I don't know what it was, but it just felt mediocre. I found the information to be interesting, but at the same time getting that information out of the text was really hard for me to do, and I just don't know why. I don't know how else to say it, because honestly, when I was thinking about the context of the book, what it was saying, I was like, this is good information. I don't want to DNF it because of what I want to learn, but at the same time, I wish I had just Googled it. And that sounds bad to say. I was actually thinking when I was like 50 pages from the end, I should just DNF. But then I was like, I'm just 50 pages from the end. Why would I DNF it when I'm so close to the end? And then like 20 pages from the end, I'm like, I wish I had DNF'd. But then I was like, but I'm 20 pages from the end. I can't DNF now. And so at this point, I am actually wishing I had DNF'd the book when I had tried to stop reading it, I don't know, back in May, when I had put it on my list of reading books, but I had never actually finished it. So I don't know. But it was interesting content. It might be something you might want to pick up if you're trying to do that. It might be good for you, but it was just dry for me. I don't know. The information was good, like I'm saying, but it was just dry for me. I don't know what it was. I also read Pride and Premeditation by Tirzah. This one was really fun. I really enjoyed reading a Pride and Prejudice retelling with murder mystery involved. This one was so good. So this one follows Lizzie as she's working in her father's attorney's office, but she's not supposed to be working there because she's a woman. And so she's working undercover and trying to get approval to actually be hired there. Her father says that if she does a good enough job, she can work there, but the problem is there's no cases. So in comes some news where suddenly a Mr. Charles Bingley has been accused of murdering his brother-in-law, Mr. Hurst. So she's on the case to try and find out information because no one in the office has gotten that case. It was so good. I really loved it, and I loved all of the twists. I was not on the right trail for a good chunk of the book. I did have the right premonition about who was not guilty, I should say, but I did not guess who was involved until about right before it was revealed. So I did guess it before it was revealed, but I was not right until right before. And I really loved how it twisted and turned. And I have the arc for the next book, which was, I think, Sense and Secondary Murder, I think, or Second Degree Murder. I'm really excited to listen to the audiobook that I have from NetGalley and we'll follow up on the next book in the series. I think they are different in that regard. I know the next one is following Eleanor, who's like a forensic psychologist or something, or forensic, I don't know. She's done something with the forensics, so I'm excited. I also read Wings of Fire by Charles Todd. This is book 2 in the Ian Rutledge series. I enjoyed this one a lot more than book 1. I felt like it was a lot more together with the plot and whodunit. I was on the right trail for a good chunk of things, and that makes me feel good about my detective skills. The clues were laid out pretty well, but I was surprised about some things, and I always enjoy that twist when it comes to those kind of books. This one was fun. It followed a few suspicious suicides, shall we say. So a brother and a sister are found dead in the kitchen, and they're considered to be suicides. It looks like a suicide pact, and that's what it is wrapped up as. Then after that, there is a death where the person who is inheriting part of the estate falls down the stairs and is dead instantly, or he dies instantly from a broken neck, I think is how it goes, but he dies instantly from falling down the stairs. And so people in that community just say it's all natural, it is how it is, people just died. But someone will not let it go, one of the family members, and so Scotland Yard is called in to try and investigate. So Ian Rutledge comes in, and that's where things get interesting. I really enjoyed this one compared to the first one. I think it was a good part of the story, and I enjoyed that, but it was definitely one that I liked more than the first one. I also read the first book in the Aggie Morton series. I think this one's called The Body Under the Piano, and this is by Marthe Jocelyn, and I really enjoyed this one. It was so cute. It's so much fun. This is a middle grade mystery series about a young Agatha Christie when she had all of these ideas in her head, but what is this like? Can you just imagine what a young Agatha Christie's like? I enjoyed it so much. This one was so much fun. I really loved it. It was just so clever, and you could tell that Marthe Jocelyn really got her information from real sources. This was also set in the Victorian era or just right after, and it was just so good. So this one obviously is about Aggie Morton, or young Agatha, and she has met a young friend, I think his name was Hector, not Hercule, but Hector Perrot, and his name is obviously similar to Hercule Poirot. So he's kind of the inspiration for Hercule Poirot, and it was really fun to see them as a dynamic duo. She finds a body under the piano right before she's going to do her dance lessons, and that's kind of where the mystery starts. She becomes a little detective with her best friend Hector, or her new best friend Hector, and it was really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars, and I can't wait to read book 2 in this series and continue on this Aggie Morton journey. I also read 4 Magic Treehouse books. So I read Stage Fright on a Summer Night, Good Morning Gorillas, High Tide on Hawaii, or in Hawaii, what's the last one? And Thanksgiving on Thursday. So all of these were great. I gave them all 4 stars. I thought that the different historical events that they were talking about were interesting and well done. I also liked the different cultures that they represented and showed. I really liked the one about Shakespeare's time, which is Stage Fright on a Summer's Night, when they were acting in the plays. I felt like that was a good child version of not medieval, but Elizabethan England. And then Thanksgiving on Thursday, which I really appreciated how it showed the Pilgrims in a very child appropriate way. And then also High Tide in Hawaii, how it showed the Hawaiian culture and how they talked through their music. That was really child appropriate, I thought, and also very culturally respectful, I believe. Obviously I'm not Hawaiian, so I could not speak to that, but from what I understand and what I learned when I was in Hawaii, I felt like that was appropriate. And then the last one, which was Good Morning Gorillas, I also enjoyed how it talked about that atmosphere and the gorillas as they were. So I enjoyed all of those, and I gave them all 4 stars. So that will be the end of this month's or December's book reading. I read a good amount, and I enjoyed those books a lot more than the other books that I read in the other wrap-up that I have for December. I will be doing a full full wrap up for all of the year with all of the books that I read, all 301, plus all the stats that I have, and it's gonna be a lot, but I am excited to go through it all. So that will be coming your way soon in case you're interested in all of the stats, like all the 5 stars, all of the 1 stars, all of those kind of things. It should be really interesting to look at all of those numbers. I'm gonna be sitting down to film that video very soon, so hopefully it won't be too long. We'll see. Anyways, please let me know down below in the comments if you've read any of these books, what you enjoyed reading over the year, or not over the year, but over the month of December. Did you have a favorite Christmas read? I'd love to hear what you enjoyed reading over the month of December down below in the comments. Also, if you would like to like this video, I would love that. It would really appreciate it. Also, if you would like to subscribe if you're new here, I would also appreciate that. And I hope that you're having a great day. I'll see you next time, hopefully with my stats video. Bye for now.